for those of us who love our boy love dramas, I recommend highly to go watch the film Maurice. It's from 1987, and it is absolutely spot on, squarely boy love. This was made in, well, the book was from the 1900s, like 19 very early. And the film is from 1987. However, the book wasn't published when it was written because the E.M. Forster who wrote it, he decided that he was going to write a book with gay protagonists, but because he was probably super gay, and all his, I can't say that, but it is reasonable to expect that he had gay friends, and he had, of course, this fairly upper class Cambridge, Oxford type experience. So basically what we're talking about, college AU. This is straight up boy love, fan fiction, the whole shebang. Now, why is it boy love? Because he made the fatal error in those days to decide that his protagonist, Maurice, was actually going to end up happily ever after with his boyfriend.
Boo! Can't have that!
No! So the publishing company, and E.M. Forster is a big name, here have a list of everything that he wrote and everything that was filmed, and we all know it. And there's a lot of boring stuff in there. However, he decided to write this and to have a happy ending for our gay characters. And so the publishing company said, no. We will publish it because he was really, really a big name author at that time. We will publish it, but you have to change the ending. Now, if you've written any fan fiction, you know that you don't want somebody to mess with your ending. Come on. Your guys, they need to get together. This is the thing, And so he said no. Because the ending that they wanted was either Maurice has to become depressed and kill himself.
Oh.
Yeah. Die through other means. Or the love story had to end dramatically bad and he would have to spend the rest of his life alone. I suppose they would have liked it even better if he had found a woman after all, because, hey, the right woman can change any gay guy, right? Wow, how long they kept that up, if you think about it. So, all bullshit. We don't like it. He didn't like it. And he was strong enough, which I think is like top notch, to say, no, thank you. Bye-bye. It will not be seen in the world. Forget it. And he didn't change the ending.
But he didn't publish.
He didn't publish. So, posthumously, he actually died fairly late in the 1960s or so. But 1970 or 71 is when the sodomy laws were taken off the books in the UK. Possibly could have some dates here or whatever happened. So suddenly decriminalization of homosexuality in the UK, believe me, it's a thing. It was a thing. Can you think about how late that is in life? In modern era? Only 1970 or 71, whichever it says here that it was. Because in 1971 an awful lot of gay movies came out. Everybody was waiting for it. But it was criminalized. So, yes, even the stars protest. So we are doing the whole pink, purple explosion today. Saying, okay, well, so posthumously it was published, I assume by his estate. And then what? Well, all his other books got made into movies. What are we going to do with Maurice? James Ivory and Ishmael Merchant were a producer couple, but as far as I know, they were an actual off-and-on couple. They produced a whole bunch of E.M. Forster's work on film in the early to mid-80s. And they had success after success after success. And in one of the movies, there was a very young James Wilby in a side character role. I think he played the brother of Helena Bonham Carter. I had to think about the name for a second. You know,
Howard's End, I think.
Yeah, there's Howard. No, not Howard's End. A Room with a View. All of his work seems to involve very awkward romances between young people who don't know how the F to deal with each other because nobody has let them around each other for most of their years and nobody teaches them anything. My mother likes to say, they used to say to the, well, for the wedding night, they used to, not her, but, you know, they as in, traditionally, in the past, they used to say to the man, no, they used to say to the woman, he will know everything, so do what he asks you to, and then they will not say anything to the man. And then you wonder why some couples remain childless. And I don't mean that in a medical issue way, but just plain because they didn't know what to do. This happens. Okay, I'm veering off the topic. Anyway, awkward romances, and it was boy, girl, boy, girl. Now, I'm sure Ian Forster was just like gay enough that he had no experiences with women at all. So it actually works quite well. But then you're going, okay, so we've got all these awkward romances and it looks very British and it looks... There's nothing wrong with that. And then that had success because they were period pieces. Because anything Ian Forster is going to be set 1880s through 1910. Because that's when he wrote books. And that's, of course, a very romantic time period to film because you've got all the elaborate clothing and you've got all the very, very stiff society. And it's mostly about very high, I'd say, upper middle class to lower to middle and sometimes even upper class. Mostly lower to middle, upper class. With classes, I always mean middle class is somebody actually worked to earn that money. And if you're upper middle class, then the rest of the family doesn't have to. I mean, literally, the next generation doesn't have to worry about it anymore. So they get sent to colleges, but they might go do a job. The upper class does not work. So you can either have loads of money, medium-sized money, or little money, but you're still upper class and you just don't work. So that's basically the thing. However, in those days, upper class also had to go to university. So our character Maurice, who is upper middle class, and this book is about class system as well. It is a part of this whole narrative.
Maurice first goes to a boarding school, I think.
Yes, for upper, middle, or lower, upper or middle, upper class. Mm-hmm. And he does reasonably well. He has enough brains. He can do the right exams. He will probably have the right tutors. He is not a stellar scholar. He's not a stellar anything. He is an average young man.
He's not stupid either, yeah.
He's not dumb, but there is some interesting thing about Maurice that he sees it, what everybody does and how everybody acts, but he is just a little bit baffled as to why. So he can't copy it terribly well. This is how he gets himself thrown out of university when he is gallivanting around with a dreamy young middle upper class young man, Clive Durham, who is actually from a landed gentry. So he has a modest title, not much. I mean, like, probably not much at all.
Probably something similar to what the Bennets had in Pride and Prejudice. Lizzie's family.
Yeah, except that he did have the estate. And he had the tenants. And he had the main house. And he had the side house.
But they couldn't keep it.
Yeah, because there are no men in the family. He's the man in the family. They are both... Maurice and Clive are both... I think Maurice is not the eldest son, but you've got the son and then there's two sisters. So it basically takes everything out of the equation of all of that stuff that all these other film narratives are about is who inherits. It doesn't matter. The boys inherit. So basically, it's also sort of like a royalty AU, billionaire boyfriend. The whole thing's in there. I mean, all the tropes. It's great. So Maurice gets there. He meets Clive. He gets to university after having been taught nothing. Social, sexual-wise, sexual education-wise, and he meets Clive, and Clive is a closet gay, and Clive proceeds to unpack Maurice, and then that's so you've got a section of the movie which is the one true pairing is Maurice and Clive. And it's easily the first 2/3 of the movie. Enter Scudder. Alex Scudder is lower class. He works at the estate that Clive owns. And he tries to get the attention of Mr. Maurice. Because Maurice is there often. And he is played by... did I mention? The actors. So we got James Wilby plays Maurice. Hugh Grant plays Clive Durham. Hugh Grant is absolutely dreamy. So is James Wilby's absolutely dreamy. And then bring in another really, really dreamy young... star to be. It took him a little longer to get known to the wider audiences, but that was Rupert Graves. And he is then afterwards, like 30 years afterwards, he became the Silver Fox of the Sherlock Holmes franchise, and he plays Inspector Lestrade. So now you know who he is and why we just drool over Lestrade. So if you've ever seen any of this stuff, you like any of these guys, watch this movie. And when it goes wrong, it goes off between Maurice and Clive. Now, I suppose Ian Forster could have stopped the book there and said, okay, we will not do the third part of the book, where it is actually Maurice and Alec Scudder. That's the romance, and then you realize this is the one true pairing, because now Maurice can talk to Alec, and Alec actually has conversation. Not that we see loads of conversation. This is like all of those films are very low in the dialogue, and the book is exactly the same. They did take the book and just some of the lines are exact, which are why they're very awkward and they sound very much like 1910.
Because they are
upper class Britain, because you're going, what does that mean? And it's not followed up by anything, so I guess we're just supposed to know. Yeah, well, you are supposed to know, because you're supposed to be 1910 upper class readership, and we're not. So, hey, Tough Cookies said Merchant and Ivory, they said this is what it says. So now I go to the production of it. Merchant Ivory, they needed to go to Trinity College in Cambridge to film the college stuff in 1987, or let's call it 6 maybe. I mean, it takes a while to film. They had fantastic success with Ian Forster books. Now you'd think that Cambridge University would be jumping up to be part of this. No, they said no. They didn't just say no, they say stay out. No, we don't want any gay homo claptrap happening and Cambridge College being involved with that. No. Can you imagine that now? Like how long is 87 ago? Is that, it's not yet 50 years. No, it's 40, not even 40 years. Can you imagine that it's like the BBC saying no to having a bisexual character on Doctor Who. They said yes to that in 2005. You know, that's almost 20 years ago. It's half that time. I'm sorry. What? Cambridge? Excuse me? So not okay. So they said no. So, but they needed the footage because there's a scene where Clive is trying to get Maurice to fall off his religious thing, because Maurice just does whatever is supposed to be, is expected of him, because he doesn't understand why it's expected of him. He's not especially religious. He doesn't really care. He's just a good dude that does what everybody expects of him. And you can actually wonder if doing what everybody expects of him as like society and the older generation, what they all expect of you, if that is actually being a good person. Because in most of the cases, society is very old-fashioned, and they just sit there and expect of you to continue that old-fashioned bullshit, and then you don't make the world any better, because it's just continuing the same all over again. So Clive was a thinker by himself. He read all the classics, and of course, Greek classics. Loads and loads of gay stuff. And you can tell immediately that his friends, and one of them is Lord, oh my gosh, I forgot his name. But he's an actual lord. That's when you find out, okay, there is even an upper class there, and that Clive is not upper class, he's middle upper class. He is landed gentry, but he doesn't have a lord type title. But there's this lord, and he is so gay. In your first scene at Cambridge, you can already tell how gay that guy is. And they don't, so, Clive has gay friends. And Maurice falls into that group. He is drawn into the group, actually by Lord so-and-so himself. I wish I remembered his name. I'm so tempted to look it up right now. And Clive asks Maurice to walk out of the church service with him. So I went back to the Cambridge scene. For that, they needed to film into the hall where the church service is being held at Cambridge Trinity College. So they put a camera there, and they hoped, because everybody was in the church or chapel. Yeah, chapel it was. They hoped they could actually manage to film James Wilby walking out towards the camera. Oh, that's towards the camera. Walking out towards the camera with Hugh Grant waiting there, and they're all in the right period costumes during Mass. And that's the shot they got. And I'm sure they ran after that. It's like, pick up equipment, go, because they're all about to come out. Oh my god. So, it's crazy. That's crazy. And that's the kind of stuff that they had to deal with. Another issue that came up with filming this was also that both actors, I haven't seen interviews with Rupert Graves about it, but I've seen interviews with James Wilby and Hugh Grant, and they have held fair few, or at least they touched upon it. And also in modern times, especially when Hugh Grant did that series about that prime minister who was gay, and he played him. And so then they interviewed him again and brought up Maurice. So, but one of the things they said is that the film crew, they were all dudes. Well, we can also not really imagine, a little bit easier to imagine, because certainly film crews tend to be guys. But there's not just guys. There's going to be women and other people there. But at that point, they had a camera crew that was guys, and then you get a guy atmosphere if there's no other genders there. And that's not good. And what happened was they had to do love scenes in front of the camera with camera crew snickering behind camera. And I'm just like, I get it. It's the 80s. The 80s was super conservative. I grew up in the 80s. I was a teenager in the 80s. It's like, but at least I was in the Netherlands, so it wasn't that bad. But what we heard from the UK and the US was like, I am glad we're not in that kind of world, because in the Netherlands being gay was not that much of a big deal at that point. In the 1990s it was a lot less of a big deal, but wow, was it a big deal for the Anglo sphere, you know. And you didn't see them on TV. You only had Stephen on Dynasty, and that was a big thing, and he had to be turned bisexual because we needed, it wasn't, yeah, at first Stephen had a boyfriend, and then he had an off-camera boyfriend, and then they tried to give him an on-camera boyfriend, and basically that meant that he never got to kiss a guy. That was just not done in the 80s, not on American television, no way. I mean, the world would implode, I would imagine, if all these men at home with their families, because it was family viewing, would have to look at two men kissing. Can we have the world explode or something? So to make sure, and so it didn't work. So they decided to then throw blonde bombshell at him, Heather Locklear, which of course is a fantastic actress, and she's gorgeous, and of course would turn any person's head, whether they are gay, straight, or bisexual, or lesbian, doesn't matter, or undecided, but or very decided, could be turning heads of asexual people. Could.
But it's not going to turn a gay person straight.
And the thing is, so they threw her at the Stephen character, who was canonically gay, and he sleeps with her, and he has a relationship with her. Her name is Sammy Jo. Now, if you ever saw the remake, Sammy Jo's a guy. In the remake. Because Stephen's gay. He's like super gay in the remake. And there's like, everybody knows it, and it's all modern. So this is the 40 years in between those two iterations of Dynasty is unbelievable. And Maurice the film, made in the 80s under those circumstances, where the producers were gay and the book was gay, and they wanted to show literally what was on the page, and they did. Had to fight all of culture, and the film did not do well, even though every single gay person, certainly gay guys I would imagine, wanted to see it. But women like me who love boy love also wanted to see it. The word boy love wasn't invented, but yaoi existed, and well, maybe not as a word, I don't know, but
not in the zeitgeist, not in
the zeitgeist, but we heard about yaoi maybe
not in 87.
in the 90s.
Yeah,
we heard about yaoi.
92, yes.
Yeah, so the whole concept of women wanting to see boy love, as in two guys together having romance, is just, that's what we wanted to see, and you would get it only in a movie like this, because nobody in this whole sequence of events, including Ian Forster and Merchant and Ivory production, they said, and the actors, they said, we're going to do it, and we're going to do it for real. We're going to do it straight up. Doesn't matter if somebody's sniggering behind the camera, doesn't matter if Cambridge College doesn't want to cooperate. It doesn't matter if it bombs at box office. We want it made. So happiness, it got made, and I still enjoy it. I have probably seen it 20 times in my lifetime, and maybe more. And when the DVD came out, that had the very, very long audio commentary that I had been waiting for a long time. Because we've had DVDs since 2004, so DVDs aren't new. But I hadn't seen a Maurice DVD out yet. And so they didn't get the guys in to do the audio commentary. I would have loved that. Either Ishmael, Merchant, the three protagonists, are three lovely actors. I mean, and you know, we want to know what they want to say about it. But they had a scholar in who knew all about Maurice, about the whole thing. So this person doesn't, normally audio commentaries, they follow what is happening on screen. This person started talking and didn't stop talking for the whole 2 hours. And it's like I was hanging on every
That's
word.
your money worth.
Yeah, oh my god, it was so good. So some of these details were in there, of course, and also she was placing it in a lot of the historical context. So I highly recommend, if you want to know more, to listen at that. I'm not going to quote because I know far too little of it, but it was like fantastic. This is everything I want to know. It's kind of like I would like a whole TV series that is Maurice. Like I want to live with these guys, see their what is going on. They did make some. There's some deleted scenes, and there's a version out that has the deleted scenes spliced in. A lot, and most of the deleted scenes weren't actually fully produced. They took them out before the final cleaning up of the film. So it doesn't look anywhere near as good, but it's really interesting what they took out. It took an entire storyline out, and I approve. Most of the time I don't approve with like stuff that they took out. Like extended versions tend to be really better, in my opinion. Lord of the Rings, certainly, that basically saves the entire movie set for me, because I especially Two Towers is just a disaster without the extended scenes. So in Maurice there's a storyline where he is floundering between having broken up with Clive and before he believes that there's possibility to be with Alec, because even for Maurice it's a little bit of a stretch to go with the gamekeeper of the Durham estate. But what he does do, and that's why I want to talk a little bit about the character of Maurice himself, is he goes with between the various classes much more fluidly than anybody in that film. He seems to not care that much.
I think he doesn't grasp the class system.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't understand how it works, and therefore he's not bothered by it.
Yeah, it's just not a thing to him. So he sees it, he sees other people doing it. He doesn't tell anybody to be different or do anything other than what they're doing. But for himself, so he's broken up with Clive, and he feels alone. So he has this whole sequence with the psychologist, which has to be mentioned. Let's talk about some of the supporting cast. So Denholm, Elliot, we want to talk about, and we want to talk about Ben Kingsley. And Ben Kingsley was put in at the last minute. A lot of stuff was done at the last minute. You've got Maurice was played by an actor that has remained unnamed, which is interesting. So it could be a big name actor, could also just be of just absolutely no consequence. But this actor had a contact, another actor that he brought with him, apparently of note, an American actor that was supposed to play that role, because it is a role for an American character, the psychologist that Maurice goes to after his breakup. He needs to not be gay. He has no words. He says it off the Oscar Wilde type. He has no words to say I'm gay and the world doesn't work for me. So he goes to this psychologist and needs to be played by an American. But the original actor for Maurice was supposed to bring in that other American actor, and because the original casting, for whatever reason, pulled out, the American actor fell through. So they turned around and going, who can play this? And apparently it was Ben Kingsley.
Ben Kingsley can play anything.
Ben Kingsley got an applause for the line when it was played first time in the UK. For the line, the British have always been disinclined to accept human nature. And that is the crux of Maurice's life. Nobody in his world accepts human nature. He has to live in that world, and he actually does. To him, it's just like, I'm this way, now what? He's not even gonna try with a woman. It's just not gonna work. So he wants to not be gay. That doesn't work either.
Good luck.
Yeah. So hence the American psychologist, implying that there wouldn't be a British psychologist to even go to for this issue. Probably because, as it's also said in the film, is that he would have to report Maurice.
Because it's against the law at the time.
Yes, sodomy laws. So, yeah, so now he's almost already living the life of an outlaw. And what he does is, he needs to keep all that secret, but he becomes boxing teacher for the lower classes on a Saturday. He gets to be naked with guys. Okay, nothing's going to happen. Literally nothing's going to happen. Maurice is not that kind of person. Lord so-and-so was. He got caught doing it. And he gets sent to jail. So this is he basically went the Oscar Wilde route. It's not good. So Maurice is that's not gonna happen. Let's talk about Denholm Elliot as well. He plays the doctor who is befriended to Maurice's family, because Maurice doesn't have a dad. He only has his mother. Dad must have died when Maurice was very young, because the film starts when Maurice is something like 11. And then there's already no dad. And so Denholm Elliot, the friendly physician, Maurice goes to Dr. whatever his name was, and asks, "Can you please check me out?" So the doctor says, "Okay, you caught something. I get it.
Happens all the time.
Please drop your drawers and we will check." And he says, "Oh, there's nothing wrong there." And what I love about this movie, because it's so literal, is that they literally have, and yes, we see the lovely butt cheeks from the back, but there is an actual checking out of the yes. This is a British movie. When we do it completely. Now, I'm not British, but you know. And in Dutch movies, it would have been frontal nudity, but it would have been side nudity, as in, like, it's just a matter of fact. It's pieces of a human's body. Fine. In a British movie, do it this way. In an American movie, we just don't do it. In 1987. And so
spoil sports.
Yeah. Very nice. And then he says, "Oh, but you're fine. Whatever gave you this idea?" And then Maurice realizes, no, he thinks I have a venereal disease. Of course, he has no words for that either. That wasn't my question. My question was, how will I ever, not be gay? And the doctor basically throws him out of the office. Denholm Elliot played this role, took this role and played this role, and from what I heard, he was in the closet at the time. And he died fairly soon after. And he seems to have really, really liked doing this part, even though it was actually of a homophobic position. But he wanted to be in this movie, and wow. So, and maybe him having to be in the closet as an actor while playing in this film is a sign of the guy sniggering behind camera, and all of that ties in together. That was the world the production was living in, and it was not that far removed from the world Maurice was living in, because it was just basically all no-go, all frowned upon. It just was legal now, so nobody could do more than frown upon it. So let's talk about the two pairs. Maurice and Clive and Maurice and Alec. Or Scudder. I do like the name Scudder. It's so cute. Maurice and Clive. Very problematic. So when I saw it, I probably saw it 1990. And then all through the 90s, I was like, oh, Clive, he's just...
misunderstood.
No, I didn't think he was misunderstood. I was like, he's just too scared to have a relationship, even though that's all he's ever wanted. He's super gay. He wants a guy. And then he settles for a sexless marriage. Now, that's a choice. That's fine. Maybe the woman also wanted a sexless marriage. But I felt the sexless relationship with Maurice was problematical. And it is actually built up quite clearly from the scene where they go out on a picnic. And Maurice tries to kiss him and they want to do kind of roll in the hay, which is a beautiful green grassy field by a creek with some trees. So
Very romantic.
Would have been nice. And then Maurice is like, we're going, right? And Clive said, no, I would like it to be, and he doesn't use the word, but he means a platonic male-male love. So that really bothered me for about 20 years. As I said, this is a long time ago. And I keep rewatching the movie, and I keep going, oh, Clive, you're just so messed up. However, I propose this. What if Clive was also asexual? Gay and asexual. And then...
And not aromantic, because he does want to hold hands.
He wanted to hold hands. He wanted that together, you know. But it also very much you and me against the world. They kind of present it in the film, and it maybe in the book. Maybe the book intended it that way. I read the book, but do I know what Ian Forster wanted? Yeah, so the film presents it by having that Lord friend of theirs being arrested. Clive sees it happening. He goes to the trial. He's already starting to fall apart. You can see he is in crisis. And then he is invited at Maurice's place for a celebration because he graduated. He did an extra degree. He graduated. And then he effectively has a nervous breakdown. And so it's fear. The movie is saying Clive is so scared, and he has a right to be, because he is of the upper class. And if he gets what they showed with the Lord guy. Gosh, I wish I remembered the name. It'll be blinking here right now.
Yes, it will.
Yes, it will. Says the editor. He's so afraid that it will happen to him because the judge at the trial says those of the upper class should be a good example for the lower classes. And Lord so-and-so got was hanging out with military guys. They're lower class. They're not middle class. And he's upper class. He's not supposed to do that. He's corrupted the corruptibility or the naivete of his lowers, not his peers, his lowers. I don't know the proper terminology. So that's actually a very, very big scare that he's got going on. And that's why they throw the book at this lord. And that's horrific. Even though it's a super PG movie. Well, there's a sort of a frontal nudity scene in there somewhere. But it's so brief. So let's call it a 13 movie.
In the Netherlands it would be 13, yes.
Yeah,
probably.
yeah. So Clive being that scared, basically scaring him out of having a gay life. Hey, I get it. That's what I thought. And now I think they put that in the film because that's not in the book. In the book, the trial isn't in there, not in such a way that it is Clive's, that he goes there. And but in the film, you have to show it. In the book, he only needs to see it in the newspaper. That's all. And he knows everything. He knows what happened, how it happened, but we need to be shown all of this. And that's good that the film does that. I think that's fair. I would not blame Clive. But I I think it'd be also really interesting to think of him as representing asexual people. And then that explains actually all the stuff that happens before that a lot more, because he already said no to sex with Maurice, but he wanted a relationship with Maurice, and Maurice really, really wanted more, but he would take only that. And he says to Clive, when they're in the big breakup scene, he says to Clive, we only have each other, we only understand each other. He doesn't know that there's a percentage of the population that is gay. Because how do you contact them? How do you find them? He doesn't know. This is actually addressed in the last 2 movies of Downton Abbey with our gay character. Is that other people take him to a gay club, which is underground. So you need to have an inn, you need to have a password, you need to know where to go, when to go. And he's sitting there up in Downton Abbey. He doesn't meet people, but when he does meet people and one of them is like, I'm taking you, he's all in. He actually forgoes being around there, being at Downton Abbey to see the king and queen, to go to a gay club. He does that. So it tells you how important that is. Because the king and queen arriving at Downton Abbey would be the biggest thing that ever happened in their entire lives. Totally. And he's like, no, off to gay club. So I am glad Clive and Maurice didn't work out. I think it's better for Maurice. I think Maurice would he wouldn't have left Clive. Clive breaks up with him. Because Maurice is like a puppy. He would have been, whatever Clive wanted, he would have done that forever. And to throw him out, yes, was very rough on Maurice. But that then actually freed him up to meet Alec.
I think the Maurice type of person has a good chance of landing on his feet. He will always find somebody. It's the Clive kind of person who is going to end up sad.
Yeah.
Because he settled for something he didn't really want. Because propriety said that was the better option.
Yeah.
That's sad.
It's sad, yeah.
But Maurice is going to be fine.
And Maurice is fine. The ending, oh my god. Now I can wax lyrical about Alec, of course, for a long time, because wow. And he is he's something Maurice has never seen before. He has never experienced before. Freedom in all senses of the word. And I think for our current day standards, we would say it's still very narrow. But for Maurice, that was absolutely, totally and utterly game changer. And then the whole thing goes from gay drama into boy love. Because now we are going to go for it. We are going to see them together. They are going to be happy.
But the sad thing is that the only way they can be happy is by leaving England.
They don't leave England, but they leave society. The book ends with 2... Hey, spoiler for a book that's over 100 years old. With 2 woodsmen leading a lovely life in the wood. But Maurice said several times, I don't care about status. I don't care about my job. He works at the stock market. I don't care about any of that as long as I have you. And he said it to Clive and he said it to Alec.
And he meant it.
But the thing with Alec is, now we get Maurice's fear of what is instilled in him. Namely, he does have sex with Alec, and it was like mind-blowing to him that can happen, because he never had it with Clive. And then Alec starts writing him love letters. What? I mean, come on, this is like the perfect boy love drama. And he's afraid, because his stuff is written down, he's afraid that he's now open to blackmail. And that's where the fear comes in. And that's where the times that Maurice lives in is closing in on him. And he's like, oh my god. Freaks out over it.
And gets the fuck out.
Yeah. And that is the trouble. And of course you need a bit shaking up between the 2 lovers before they finally decide to settle together. And that happens after Maurice says goodbye to Clive. The goodbye scene, oh my god. And the goodbye scene in the deleted scenes is longer, And they decided to Clive, because he tells Clive, this is your life. My life, I will only talk with you about my life with you. I will not discuss anything from this point forward. Basically saying the future is mine. You had your chance. You blew your chance. I would have done anything for you. And and you could basically see Clive going, holy F. What did I throw away? And then I'm also thinking, because we are further than where the written word is. Ian Forster knew nothing about World War I. He knew nothing about social change about to happen. He knew nothing about the stock market crash in 28, 29, the Great Depression, gay liberation movement in the 60s and 70s. He knew nothing about this. Of course, that's a little far away from them. So that's 50 years for them. But imminently, their world is about to change. So I think they may not end up being woodcutters.
They're going to go to World War I.
They are going, and Maurice, very well trained, and Clive, they were going to be...
And Alec.
Alec. Hopefully Maurice can get Alec a good position, but Maurice and Clive will be officers. They will be...
They can try to get Alex to be a Batman for him.
Yes. Yeah, and then... And it's 4 years for the UK.
It's dangerous. It's very dangerous.
Yeah. So if you're watching this from America, the UK was in the war for 4 years.
And it was devastating to the entire population of the young men of England. A lot of them died.
Yes. And a lot of them died in the trenches from diseases.
And
so
officers and non-officers alike.
Yeah, I mean, hey, viruses don't care what your rank is. So... yeah, that's the flu epidemic then of the early 20s, right? Oddly enough, this movie is actually filled with women. Clive has a mother and sisters. Maurice has a mother and sisters. 2 sisters each. Clive starts to flirt with Maurice's sister Ada. And remarks that Ada is remarkably like Maurice.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
Yeah, that's where, before he finds this other not nonsensical, but is this other nothing of a woman to be his wife. I think he probably chose the most gullible, the most flexible, like not needing to ask any questions type of young woman who was willing to just go along with him, whatever he wanted. Probably what her daddy wanted her to do. That's kind of how it looks. A great slap in the face for Maurice was when Clive starts phoning up and puts the new to-be missus on the phone. He's not even invited to the... I think he's invited to the wedding. And says, yeah, you're the 9th friend of Clive's that we're phoning. And he's like, oh. It's really Clive saying, you're out. I will not associate with you. But once Clive is married for a while, he actually offers Maurice, you can come around anytime. He thinks we can just see this as a college thing. I did say it was a college AU. It's the thing that we did in college, but it has nothing to do with the rest of our lives, and it wasn't significant. Yes, and the scene where Clive comes to Maurice's room when he spends some time, because hey, Alec is there, so he does keep coming back to the Durham estate. And then he kisses Maurice's hand and he says, don't you mind? And Maurice, who never says anything negative to any of them, he's never pushes back. He's like, it's okay. It's not okay. You know, you didn't want to touch me when we were... when we had a relationship, full-on relationship. This is in the deleted scenes where they go home after, you know, when they're full-on in a relationship, and all that happens is they take each other's cufflinks off. That's why I think, you know, there's Clive tries to when he starts to have this nervous breakdown, he gets into bed with Maurice. I mean, if you've not seen the deleted scenes, definitely watch that one. And then Maurice is like, oh yes, absolutely, come to me. I'm here for you. And then he's just crying. He says, no, this isn't it either. And my heart breaks for Clive, because wow, is he messed up. But you want to watch any boy love drama nowadays coming out of various countries, there's some stuff like that in there, because some of the cultures that these are made in, it's especially, some of the Japanese ones, they are so struggling with the gay doesn't really exist. The word exists now, but what is it? How do we deal with it? And what if I am that? Wow, there's some definitely heavy gay problem series, not just boy love romance series, that are two different things. And I've learned over the years that you have the romance genre, which this falls into. That's why I started with this is boy love. And you have gay cinema or gay drama if it's for television. And those are two different things. Those are like following the lives of people that are gay, and of course now we want it be more than just gay, LGBTQ plus IA, etc. Those dramas are actually about, hey, what happens if in this situation this person is that kind of sexuality that isn't heteronormative? Go. And then you have the gay romances, like Red, White, Royal, and Royal Blue, and various boy love dramas from Thailand and Japan and Korea, South Korea. So those are romance stories. And then basically it's like the whole world is just going to have to hop to, because, hey, these boys are gay and they are gay. And that's where the romance is going to be. And this story, Ian Forster, in 1911 or so, when he wrote it, said, no, these boys are going to be gay. Nobody's going to fling themselves off a building.
Or suddenly turn straight.
Yeah, nobody's going to... No Stephen's turning bisexual or straight. Because bisexual in a heterosexual relationship is passing for heterosexual, right? So we can forget about the bi part. Yeah, there's a lot of... Yes, the bi world is very, very upset with that narrative. I think this is one of the best films, certainly of that era. There's not a lot of romance gay films, and I have now understood why it actually held my attention for that long. It's not subtextual. It's not frowned upon. The guys get each other. Yes, there are, of course, hey, this was a relationship that didn't work out, but that doesn't mean that our gay protagonist doesn't end up in a happy, happy relationship.
Yay! With Scudder!
Scudder! Oh my god! And I do want to see them, 40 years after. Can our three actors please come together and make a 40 years after and show us, Maurice and Alec, and maybe, the life they have built together, and
Clive and his new beau.
Yeah, Clive, maybe he decided to divorce and then, or whatever. And even if it's Clive with his wife and he just goes, yeah, I really should have kept that. I really should never have let that go, because that is the last scene that Clive and Maurice have, is, Clive, you missed it. You missed your chance. And it's beautiful, like the Maurice waving in the distance with his college robes on. This film has everything you would possibly want if you like shipping fanfiction, if you like boy love dramas. It's a slow burn. All the boys are lovely, pretty, and everybody acts their pants off. It's so good. Even the women are amazing. All the men, even the homophobic men actors, are fantastic. There's so many more actors to name that are so great in this film. They grabbed it, they did it, and they let nobody tell them not to do it. And I hope Cambridge University goes, we really should have done better by that movie. Yes. Because otherwise we would have been on here going with like, look at all this amazing Cambridge stuff. So, loved it. Recommend it. Go watch it. And that's my opinion. And I'm sticking to it.